Network, the emergent group that are folks out there with Franciscan hearts and spirits, as you obviously have. And so there's a great deal of effort in trying to flesh out some of the things that are brought up in this article. On a personal level, this time of year is busy in terms of preparing for the summer. Our sister's coming home and we plan retreats at our mother house for the sisters, and that's part of my role. So organizing these retreats, I think they're all in place now with retreat directors and sisters registering. One of our dear sisters of 93 years old, and she was my first and second grade teacher, died. She died on Saturday afternoon. But she was as first and second graders, she was very, very young. We were her first teaching experience. She was out of high school. Well, back in those days, ancient history, where sisters began teaching before they had their degrees. She claimed she didn't know anything. And here she was in a classroom of a combined first and second grade, but we thought she knew everything. She was peaceful and serene and lovely up until the minute she died, and just experienced pain maybe the last hour. And I was privileged to be at her side. And I said, do you want God to call you home? She said, yes. And I said, okay, we'll tell him. And she died about a half hour later, bless her heart.
Wow.
Just, if everybody in the world could be as serene and peaceful as she was all her life, our world would be at peace. It was just so it's a blessing, you know, even though it's difficult to say goodbye. She's up there pulling for all of us of the Franciscan mind and spirit. Otherwise, life is good, and looking forward, grateful to see spring in our climate these days, right? So.
And where are you located?
Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which is right just 80 miles north of Milwaukee, right on Lake Michigan.
I'm very familiar because
Okay.
I'm born and raised Two Rivers.
Oh, Rivers, okay.
And
Yes.
I was the director for religious education at Sacred Heart Parish in Manitowoc.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
And I taught at the college.
At our Silver Lake Holy Family?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. And now it's closed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 4 siblings, and 3 of them met their spouses in Two Rivers, or they're from Two Rivers. Remember Timber Lodge? That's where they all met each other.
Oh, yes.
Back in those days, Wisconsin had an 18 drinking age, right? So that's where all the young people hung out. And they're all still married. That's great. So, okay, Mary, how about you next?
I continue to enjoy my new work at the Milwaukee County Jail Library. But it's interesting. I was just observing to myself today that I love the people I volunteer with, but they have a lot more money than I do. So on one hand, I'm seeing prisoners who have like nothing compared to me. And then I'm also aware of people who can just travel a whole lot more freely and more luxuriously than I can. And I did watch the video about the Franciscan Renaissance right before we got started. And it just really spoke to me about the call to simplicity. And I'm hoping we'll have time to just talk about some other things from the video later. Delighted to have spring again, hopefully for more than one day in a row. And let's see, I will call on, Nora, are you part of this?
She is now.
So can I call on you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm calling on Nora then.
I accept. Yeah, hi everyone. I am doing pretty well. I had a really nice day yesterday
Okay.
with my,
Nice
I have a
day.
6-year-old, and she just loves to spend time together, like close. She
Yeah.
likes physical touch. So she likes to snuggle on the couch and watch a movie.
Yeah.
And we
Cool.
got to do that, and we went to church together in the morning, and yeah, it was a really simple day. It was just so nice because it was simple.
Yeah.
And I am happy about all of the things that are happening and within the Franciscan family. I mean, just every story I hear and you know, the things that you all are doing, whether individually or together, it really does motivate me. And I'm hoping to, I don't know if tonight or maybe on Wednesday, we have our national circles call. Toby's going to share a little bit more about plans to kind of do what we can to collaborate with others in the country around issues of poverty and racial and you know, and environmental injustice. And so all of these things are hopeful in the midst of a lot of other things that are that kind of weigh on me. So I'm trying to focus on those things. And I'm grateful to be here and see your faces. Let's see, I invite Louis.
Thank you. To be in complete transparency, I just want to let everybody know that I've been diagnosed as being cognitively disabled with extreme short-term memory loss. So if I get lost once in a while, just kind of slap me around and I'll come back to the subject. And a shout out to Toby. And, you know, and Mary said the word Renaissance as what is played as last year's. And I think that they really set the bar high for this year. There was no doubt about it. And this expansive thought processing is really, so it just hit me as Francis says, rebuild my church. I think that's what that the whole thing was telling us. And then I came across something, it may have been in there. See, I don't know where I got it from. I wander around a lot. It says, within each of us is all of us. And I thought that's a real good thought for what we're doing here. And then of course, I think in the liturgy today, it says, may our feet follow in the path of your peace. And yeah, I think all that's going on in the world today, what they almost declared the day of war in Russia. I mean, it's you know, it's something that we need to, you know, we need to take these, what are they, 9 groups that now gather together, something like that, the umbrella groups, you know. Well, I'm very glad to be here. Can't do much, but I'm here supporting and praying. Thank you.
I think Toby, you are next.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I am thrilled to be here with you. This is actually my 5th day. I started last Tuesday, so I'm very excited. Hopefully you all got an email from me last week. And as Nora said, I'm working hard to try to organize our Franciscan family to be a presence at the Poor People's March next month on June 22nd. And there's going to be more information coming from FAN about how you can be involved. There are buses coming from around the country. So even if you're just one person or a couple people, there are still ways to get to the march if you want to do that. And otherwise, you know, we'll have some thoughts about how you can be with us in spirit. I'm sorry, yes, June 18th. Sorry about that. It has been a long day. June 22nd is something else that I was working on earlier today. Okay. And so I actually am thrilled specifically to be with this virtually with this Milwaukee group. I was actually in Milwaukee just 2 weekends ago, volunteering at St. Francis in Milwaukee. I actually went to high school in Mount Calvary, Wisconsin. I was,
Hey, St. Lawrence.
yes, I was educated by the Capuchins.
Yes.
So I was up there. I was up there volunteering with some of my alumni brothers in
Oh,
Milwaukee,
nice.
trying to do some good up in your part of the world.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully we're all going to do some good in your part of the world.
Mhm. I just wanted to add one thing, Mary. If I remember correctly, did you say that your patron of your conference is St. Paschal Baylon?
Mary, you're on mute.
I'm not part of a conference.
Oh, okay.
I'm an associate of the Sisters of St. Francis of Assisi that are located along the lake, but I'm not part of a secular group.
Okay, then I have the wrong person associated with that saint, but that was the name of our sister who just died, Sister
Oh,
Paschal.
okay.
That's, anyway, okay.
Yeah.
We have a fraternity in Wind Lake, which is Paschal Baylon.
Okay, so that's the connection. All right. Had the wrong, okay.
Well, you all started talking about it, and I just want to invite us to continue our conversation of what, I don't know if you all were able to either watch the video of Brian McLaren or read the transcript of what he said. So no, I'm seeing one head shaking no. Okay, so I want to give you just are you joking or are you serious?
No, because I've had a lot of technology
Yeah.
difficulties, so.
Oh, no worries. No problem. I'm so glad you said something because I don't want to assume and then, that's not a good feeling. So basically the idea, and you all can help me out. The kind of gist of his talk, a Franciscan Renaissance in terms of a renewal, renewed interest, renewed focus, needed, costly, and within reach. So he's basically just saying that there's so much about the Franciscan movement that we need so badly now. And, he talks about how there is an economic aspect, there was ecological aspect. What else does he say? He kind of goes through and he names how, and he talks about one phrase that was new to me, but it kind of stuck in my head was, we talk about having a preferential option for the poor. Why I invite us to think about having a preferential option for the young.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes.
So he talked about different things. When you get a chance, Charlie, it was really interesting and kind of provoked a lot of other thoughts. So you're welcome to, please contribute to the conversation as much as you like. I guess my first question is just, what stuck out to you all the most, and if there was any particular challenge that Brian set forth that really spoke to you. So open floor.
I was struck by the preferential option for the young, being not young. It was very interesting. And I guess I was also a little bit puzzled because my sense in terms of the church, and this isn't true of all the young people, but in terms of people going into the priesthood and stuff like that now, is that they're kind of resistant to the things Vatican II set in motion. And so I don't know. And of course, that's only one group of young people, but that is something that definitely troubles me. And then I'm wondering, where are the other young voices? You know, and how do we listen to them? Because I think he is calling us to do that.
I think I hear what you're saying, and sometimes feel the same way regarding the young and their view of things associated with Vatican II. I think this synod on synodality that Pope Francis is calling for active, intensive listening and participation in conversations, as much as the young can be engaged in that, I think it's critical. I know
Good
there
idea.
are deadlines for sending our conversation ideas to Rome. I mean, I don't know how each diocese is dealing with it, but some dioceses are not that involved, unfortunately.
Right.
But that might be an avenue,
Mm-hmm.
or bringing together, you know, the whole concept of that listening is listening to each other and inviting conversations with varied perspectives. And if we can bring groups of young people together from all perspectives, whether they're the Vatican II bent or not, bringing them together to listen. I mean, I don't know. That's true at all ages, though. I think we need to do that at all ages.
Yeah, this is, I know, a sidebar, but I just wanted to say that I am disconcerted because here in Milwaukee, they're not treating this as group conversation and process for the most part. They're saying, here's the website, go there and respond to the questions. And so the Sisters of St. Francis of Assisi did invite associates to participate in what I understood to be more of a group discussion process. So I did have that experience there, but I don't see that happening in our parish, and I'm disappointed about that.
So I'm really pleased that the parish that I belong to, which is not diocesan, but it's by a Capuchin, and we have our sister parish, which Toby is familiar with, the St. Francis of Assisi. And we had gathered as a parish. We ran a session, we had trainings beforehand for facilitators and for note takers. We broke up into small groups. We had the 2 leading questions, and we went through the steps of the synodal process. And the greatest thing that we took away from that was listening. And we have to in my fraternity and within the Franciscan movement, this whole renaissance of dialogue. Not blaming, not pointing the finger, not the hierarchical structure and all those things. And it was so enriching to me looking at a renaissance, because the questions that were proposed was, on your journey with the church, what was the greatest joy that you got out of it? And what was your greatest frustration out of it? And each person had 4 minutes to reflect on that question. And then we came back for the second go around, and what did you hear coming out of that session? And then the third step is, where do we go from here? Type of thing. So I think, you know, and I'm so pleased with the present Pope that we have, because he and I are in sync. I've always been for inclusion, and St. Ben's has just gone on this roster now of, we are a welcoming church for the LGBTQ society or members, that we are open and welcoming to you. And so there
Great.
are many things in process, I think, that are beautiful and ongoing, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it. So,
Neat.
thank you.
I can understand the frustration with, your diocese. We experienced some of the same in the Green Bay Diocese, but it's encouraging to see across the country. And as we've asked our sisters to send us information about what's happening in their diocese. And we have sisters in Arizona and Nebraska and Ohio and Michigan and St. Louis. And the sisters from the Tucson Diocese, they've spoken of listening sessions with the youth in the high schools, in the prisons, listening sessions, because there's a prison ministry in the diocese, of course. The homeless shelter, they held listening sessions, and poverty groups besides, regular parishioners. So, we can be frustrated maybe on some local levels, but it's globally, I think there's a lot of action taking place. And that inclusivity, that's one of the things that Brian speaks of in this article is so key. I think whatever we can do ecumenically, because we have so many common bonds. I know I've said this before, I'm just 2.5 years away from being in the Diocese of Tucson for 15 years. And we had a poverty summit, ecumenical poverty summit, to try to address poverty solutions. And the bishop, Bishop Kokanis at the time, invited faith leaders of all denominations and people in the pews to attend the summit. And we began the session with a Muslim imam speaking, a Jewish rabbi, and a member of one of the Christian denominations within the city, to talk about what does your faith tradition teach about care for the poor. They could have given each other's talks. Everybody said, our faith tradition teaches that is our first responsibility, care for the poor. It's like the example given about nonviolence in the article. So there's so much that we have in common that if we just build on that ecumenical, now with the war in Ukraine, perhaps some ecumenical prayer gatherings, I don't know.
Absolutely. Talking about youth, and I've been a Franciscan for not long, about 15 years, and it's always discussed, and it's always left with no ongoing decision making. Now, I'm not a teacher, but years ago in my parish in Louisiana, I was approached, would you teach catechism? Sure, I'll do that. And then I found out, well, you're going to teach 10th grade catechism. I said, oh, no. It put, in the wrong sense, it put the fear of the Lord in me. What I remember mostly was that our youth ministry was very strong for this little parish out in the swamp of Louisiana. And some of the big parishes in Milwaukee, which have all kinds of resources, and they have all the ability to network with somebody that's 2 miles down the street, and they can get together for whatever it may be. I found out, and this is just on my own after 10 years, was that you get as much out of your youth as you put into it. And if you don't have people willing to spend time and to be sincere, and like our catechism there was an hour and a half every week. Catechism now is 1/2 hour once a month. And I'm thinking to myself, well, so I can't teach anymore because I'd be cheating the students with my abilities. But you know, and your sister, you were talking about your first and second grade teacher earlier, who had just passed away. And I thought to myself, what a way to evangelize, to be able to pass that on to your kids, that she knew everything. And I'm sure she was passing on what was important to her.
Yeah, kindness and
Mhm,
simplicity. Yeah.
mhm. Love, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Love was I,
You
I,
know,
and I attended a Bible study, not Catholic, because there's not a lot of Catholic Bible studies around, but it was a Methodist Bible study, and they always wanted to know about Catholicism, and we were in like Charlie says, we were in a dialogue. That was our and then I know, you know, they would say, well, you know, the faith gets you to heaven, and you know, it has nothing to do with works. And of course, then everybody looked at me, and I just read not too long ago, it doesn't have to do with faith or works. It's all about love. It's good to what do we call it, ecumenicalize? Is that what we were saying? And then we're talking about ourselves, right? So I think it's needed. Thank you.
you know, and in talking about involving youth, and certainly I believe we need to meet them where they are and whatever, come to understand and listen to them. But I think there's also value in intergenerational blending with whether it's worship or discussion groups or whatever work service projects together, whatever we can do to bridge the age gaps and understand, you know, we have a hard time, I have a hard time understanding youth today, but they probably have a hard time understanding us, and I'm an elder. But whatever we can do to bring age groups together and family groups together, I think is important too.
I'd like to ask a question about that. Do you all have, you mentioned, you know, could it be in worship? Could it be in a service project? How could we bring an intergenerational group together in a meaningful way and have it be something people want to be there? I'm curious if anybody else has any ideas or if anything popped into your head after what Sister Leonette said.
There's an approach to catechesis that's intergenerational, and I don't know if it's still out there, but I forget which religious catechism publisher, where it's family catechesis.
Right.
The families, and this could be designed, you know, at any level.
Benzinger.
Pardon me?
Benzinger.
Benzinger. Okay, so you're familiar. Do you want Charlie to talk about that?
No, you said it very well. That's the whole scope of the thing is, but the key to that program is dialogue. So many times when we get with elders, many elders view themselves as knowing it, and that the young people should listen to them.
Yeah.
And we don't recognize the young, that we need to listen to them as well. So this program is intergenerational, and it's coming together, and you break up into small groups and then you come together as a large group. So it's cohesive, and it's a wonderful, wonderful program, and it's still going on.
Good. So the wheel has been invented. You know, and that's been my experience too. You come together as a total group, and you may start with an opening prayer together, and then you do catechesis according to age levels, and then you bring them back and the children share what they learned about sacrament of reconciliation at that session and what the parents session was about on the same topic. And does that sound familiar, Charlie? Is that?
Yep, that's right on the
And
head.
often there's a meal associated with it.
Right.
That's,
Agape.
Yep.
mhm.
I'm really intrigued by this, and I'm just asking myself questions. I mean, I'm just brainstorming inside my head, so I'm getting it out of my head. What if I'm thinking of, I guess I'm a little bit influenced by the movie that we watched last month, Youth v. Gov, of these youth who are just absolutely totally invested in speaking out for the future of the planet and their own futures. And I wonder if, you know, our family of creation, if that is where we could find some common ground of interests. Because it does appear to be absolutely one of the key issues. I mean, I think there are several, right, for youth, but at least it seems that way. Toby is coming from being a school principal. So he is very in touch and has kids himself who are in the teenage years. So you probably have even more insight, definitely more than me. But
I was actually thinking of, I've done training on intercultural communication in my previous ministry experience. And normally people think of intercultural communications as being between Spanish speakers and English speakers, or between whites and blacks. Or one of the things that we really emphasized as we were rolling this out in our parish was that intergenerational communication is intercultural communication. And one has to really think about, you have to prepare both sides for how to respect and understand the culture of the other, right? And so I'm sitting here writing my notes to myself, if you as a group of Franciscan elders were to be able to have a conversation with a group of Franciscan youth, what would you need to hear? I'm thinking, what would you need to hear ahead of time to try and make it a good understanding of their culture? And what would they need to hear ahead of time to understand you and your generational culture? And it's interesting that we can't just necessarily dive into it, because it's like you were saying, I can't remember who was saying it before, but you know, we all have expectations of how we communicate. Oh, they're going to listen to me because I'm an elder, or oh, I'm entitled for everyone to hear me because that's the way in my generation we're talking. And I'm just thinking how fascinating it is that there almost needs to be some training before coming together. For instance, like Charlie was describing, the note takers and the facilitators needed to have in his parish before having a good synodal dialogue. But it's something that we need to do. That's a priority. If we're gonna talk about it, then we'd want to figure out how to make it happen.
It maybe I mean, just off the top of my head, maybe a place to start is to try to find what are our values and where is their commonality. I mean, if we're you know, looking at the issues that Brian raises, these are not just Franciscan related, they're the world, right? How do the young, how do any age group, and this might be advanced homework, come to the meeting, come to the conversation with, what are your thoughts on nonviolence or versus violence? What are your thoughts on this whole equity and economics, you know, poverty and the wealthy, et cetera, the gap? Global concerns, climate, you know, ecology. Maybe a few of those key issues that are probably everybody knows something generically about them, and see what do we have in common and what are our differences. We need to hear the differences too, and respect differences. And at any rate, just a thought.
I think it's important intergenerationally, and again that Toby and sister are much more, and Charlie, and I'm a backseat driver here maybe, or Monday morning quarterback. But my little experience was with them was to make sure that I asked open-ended questions. I never started something off with, you know, boom, a statement. Okay, this is number paragraph 167 in the catechism, and this is what we're going to study today. That didn't work. But what worked was, okay, did you read the paper today? Did you read this story? What do you think about it? I remember that 5 kids got killed. They were in a little bar, my wife would call it the woods. They were they were in the swamp. they were all overserved, every single one of them. And they got in a head-on car crash and all of them died. And the kids had to absorb punishment from the elders. Well, look at what you're doing. Yeah. And no, let's pray and then tell me. And then sometimes you couldn't get anything out of them for it. But sometimes, what do they call it? A pregnant pause. Sometimes it's worth a million words. And then again, if you can follow it with another open-ended question, and if when I got them talking, I was just the happiest camper in the world. I mean, I could sit back and just listen and just maybe, let's go this way, let's go that way. And the last thing is, in my youth, what really sparked me intergenerationally was ecology. And because I could relate to a lot of older people were also a part of that. And it would seem to me like a church should be able to gather, some way around, let's, have 3, whatever. Anyway, so that's it. Thank you.
There's some really interesting ideas that have come out of this conversation, and I've written some of them down. I hope maybe somebody else may have written some down, but I'm thinking there's potential in there for maybe something going forward. So let's keep sharing and open to the spirit. I also wanted to ask, I mean, that a little bit relates to my next question. How do you think we, individually and also with, I guess, the Franciscan family of Milwaukee, or even with our humble circle, how could we contribute to this renewal of seeing Franciscan values actualized? And again, I think some of the things that have come out are great ideas, just right there even. But I was curious if there are any others that maybe come to mind. And there's no right or wrong answer.
We really all of us touched upon the youth movement. And what do we see, and maybe what others see in that in the other action networks around the country, is maybe if somebody of your ilk and Toby would be able to say, why don't you hook up with these people, because they seem to be of like mind, and just let it go. It goes. If it doesn't, well, who knows? And it only has to be ideas, because somebody in Oregon and somebody in Wisconsin, we're not going to be able to get together. But we certainly can share ideas, and the ideas can grow.
As I look at my situation as a member of a religious congregation where our median age is somewhere in the 70s, and we have sisters out in the active mission fields, and they're in education and healthcare, but I'm thinking we're not in a position as an organization, much less as individuals, to begin new initiatives at this point.
Right.
Mhm.
But if we can make our physical and whatever else presence in organizations or initiatives or whatever are already out there, like if there's a Catholic high school or parish listening session, whatever, if we can be actively involved in initiatives that already exist, but bring a Franciscan presence to it, just by participating, or showing up at kids' games, or whatever. I guess I'm coming from that perspective. We have a homeless women's family homeless shelter in Manitowoc, and our congregation, along with many other faith communities of all denominations, help to support that in terms of our presence there, being present to things that already exist that are part of what we're speaking of here, representing our values. Volunteering at the soup kitchens, volunteering at, invitations to youth events, or I don't know.
Sister, aren't you on the board of many hospitals?
I'm not on the board, but as a member of our leadership, we sponsor healthcare facilities just in 3 areas. In Manitowoc, our hospital, in 4 areas really. In Zanesville, Ohio, a hospital. In West Point, Nebraska, in the middle of cattle country, little town of West Point, we have a hospital, a nursing home, and a senior center complex. And then, so Zanesville, did I say Zanesville, Ohio? Manitowoc, Wisconsin, Zanesville, Ohio, Kaukauna, Wisconsin. How could I forget Kaukauna? We have a nursing home, a senior care, all levels. So we are the sponsor of those, and that's our healthcare system. So as a congregation, we sponsor them, yes. And so we have a board presence on all of those.
Mhm.
We are the buck stops with us. Yeah. So that's, and so as a result, in those institutions, we have our mission program, used to be called Mission Effectiveness, training all staff in the Franciscan charisms and Franciscan approach to healthcare, and the healing ministry of Jesus. That's very much a part of our sponsorship, and we have a head of mission who trains the mission leaders in each of those facilities. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm a little bit cognizant of the time just flying by. I want to make sure we have time to set our next date, but I also wondered if anyone else had anything on their minds that they wanted to share before we come to a close. Okay, well, no problem, because we'll have plenty more times to share. But yeah, thank you. This has been really rich, and it's even giving me some ideas I hadn't thought of before. So I'm really appreciative that I got to be a part of this conversation. And so yeah, looking forward. Let me pull up my calendar real quick.
Well, I'm just looking at the Hollywood Squares here, and it seems like we're going down and down. When I first there, I mean, we almost had 2 pages of people. Are we not meeting on a good day of the week or a good time of the week? Or I'm just sort of questioning that. As we look at our calendars and said, so it's fine for the people that are here, but how do we get the input from? Oh, Toby, you sent out an email. Where did you get that list from? Nora?
Oh,
Well, I sent out an email to everybody that's associated with FAN. So
Like
That-
those who signed up for the weekly newsletter.
weekly newsletter people.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Charlie. I think we
Mhm.
should maybe online put out a question in terms of when people would like to meet. And I suppose, some of the people have chosen not to participate, or, it's hard to know if it's just bad time for them or what the deal is.
I am with you. That is exactly my question too. I don't know if someone said, I think this isn't for me, or if they've said, well, it just doesn't work out for timing. It's very hard to tell. What do you think of the idea? I'm hearing what you're saying, Mariana. I really like it. What do you think of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now is June 6th. What if I don't know if you all enjoy or find it easy to use a doodle poll,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
one option where you can pre-select windows of time and then say,
Mhm.
okay, everyone, can you select the times that
Yes.
for you? And I could do one for that whole week. And then we could kind of see where there's consensus. What do you all think of that idea? Or I'm open to other ideas too.
No, as I said earlier, I'm all about inclusion, and I don't want to see us as a separatist and, oh, we are Franciscans and we know it all, we have it all. Our is together. No, we need to be more invitational, and I think your idea is wonderful. The more we can get out there and hear where people are coming from, or what is the reason this isn't for you because we're not action oriented. I mean, there was a fraternity that I visited, and I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to become a Franciscan with that community, because they focused on the adoration of the monstrance, saying the rosary, and benediction, and that was all they did, which is wonderful for them.
Mhm.
But for me, I wanted to be more a Franciscan in doing action. And I think earlier we talked about the youth. We tried to reach out because I'm at Cardinal Stritch University for our fraternity. And we tried to reach out and draw the youth in. Well, we did that,
Yep.
but then they all graduated.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have to start over and over and over. But we went out into the community here in Milwaukee, and it was unbelievable. The youth themselves have organized and developed, and they have these cleaning the lakefront or the riverbeds and all kinds of ecological events that are going on, and how that can all be twined together. Anyhow, I can go on and on. I'm sorry.
I think,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know who else. Toby, are you involved in the Franciscan Federation Annual Conference?
Right.
Which is-
I am not, but our executive director, Michelle Dunn, is going to be
Okay,
speaking
'cause-
Yeah, she'll be
at
there.
the Federation.
And I'll be there too, so that's that week. It begins
Okay.
June 3rd and ends on June 6th or 5th. Correct?
I think so. I can't remember if it ends Sunday or Monday. Would the
I think it ends Monday morning. I'm not sure, or Sunday, but that later that week would work. But I don't want to just speak for myself. But giving that doodle calendar sign up thing would cover a lot of days, maybe even 2-week time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could do that too. I could make it 2 weeks instead of just the one, or is that too much? I
Or
don't know.
I suppose, maybe just 1 week is enough, because that would, I don't know, specific months, days of a month, or I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. I can make it 2 weeks. And then we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will do that. And is it reasonable to ask people to fill it out within 2 weeks' time?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Or-
I wouldn't go any longer than that.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. I never know, like, if people are checking their emails, sometimes things get buried, but who knows?
Mhm,
Okay, great. We'll do that. And thank you. Thank you for, so I will just say, ooh, I'm sorry, we're going over just a little bit. I was able to speak on the phone with Brother Robert the other day, and I was asking him, I said, again, I'm not there, so I don't really know what
Right.
options are. But I thought if the group were open to maybe meeting in person, not that that would happen every time, but like maybe for something, do you recommend or have any ideas for a place that might be able to happen? And he said, oh, they're always welcome at is it Ben's?
Benedict the Moor.
And or the other one.
St. Francis of Assisi.
Thank you.
Yeah, the bishop is coming at the end of this month to bless our new development.
Okay. Great. And I know, like, Sister Leonette, I realized that did you say 80 miles north of Milwaukee? So that's quite a distance.
I have a brother in Mequon. I can always hang out there. I mean, I can. He's nice. He's a big brother. He's good.
So again, just like planting a seed of something to think about for the future.
Okay.
Maybe over the summer, there could be something in person, whether it be sharing a meal and or doing something involving, the ecosystem. I know John mentioned he's part of this Milwaukee River project. Maybe between now and next time, we could, have we done this before? I can't remember. Just write down, like make a note of things, like you said, Sister Leonette, initiatives that are already happening.
Yes.
And that we could perhaps collaborate with, or, and maybe not all the time, but on something when there's a special moment. Like, for example, the Sport People's Campaign, they're having a particular day when it would be really great to have a lot of people to show pressure or, desire. Maybe there would be, anyway, just maybe we could think about that. We could kind of brainstorm together. Thank you for being flexible with your time. I'm sorry to keep you over. I would love to end in just a moment of prayer, if that's okay. Or is there anything else anyone wanted to say?
No, that's good.
Okay. I don't want to ever stop someone from saying what's on your heart or mind, but if it's all right, I'll lead us in just a very brief closing prayer. We're so grateful for this time together, for the people who are here in this circle, and for those who will join with us and walk with us, and who we will walk with. Most high, glorious God, we praise you. We thank you for the many good people and blessings you have bestowed upon our Justice Circle. And we ask that your spirit of truth and goodness enlighten us as we embrace the opportunities and challenges of this day. And please give us true faith, certain hope, and perfect charity, sense, and knowledge, gracious God, as we seek to live out your gospel. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora.
Thank you all. Thanks so much. And
Thank you.
thanks, Toby, for
Bye-bye.
joining us. All right, look for my poll and
Okay.
we'll see you soon.
Stay well, everyone. God
Yes.
bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.